It was when he was driving buses that he found his calling, He said he was just driving homeless people around for free at the end of his run. And then when he realised how many youth were homeless on his bus, then he felt this calling to get into ministry.
I'm Ron and I'm a pastor's kid. Growing up in church, there was heaps of times where we didn't want to be part of it anymore, and we didn't want to be held to the same high standard and not go out and party and not go to our friend's place and not hang out with certain people.
I'm Marcus. My dad's style of free thinking was a really empowering thing for me, the idea that we can think whatever we want to think.
My name is Fasitua and I am a pastor's kid.
Can you just run, okay? Good luck.
For some reason, wherever we went and whatever we did was kind of judged as, up against some kind of moral social code that we were being matched up against. Should we be doing that? Should the minister's kids be doing what all the other kids are doing?
I'm Dan and I'm a pastor's kid. We're just kids trying to figure ourselves out, find our own way in the world, and that might not be our father's way.
I'm Chris. The best thing about me growing up as a minister's kid was just the diverse experiences. We started in Welly, went to Dunedin, ended up in South Canterbury, come to Auckland. There's countless experiences in there. We're the Amosa brothers and we're pastors' kids.
1985 was when I felt the call to go into ministry. So after discussing with Henga, who was a little bit reluctant because he did not want to be a forefront kind of life.
When he asked me, I think twice, and I, because I know his passion is for the people, and he's got the gift of the gab. He can talk. So that's where I was saying, yes, I will support you.
Took the family to Dunedin because that's where the college is for training, and there we spent the next 4 years.
So we were there for 3 years, 4 years when Dad was at uni, but I think the expectation was that after he finished, we all thought we were going back to Wellington, and Dad said, no, we're going to Pleasant Point, and we had no idea where that was. But Dad was like, no, this is great, and we were all packed in a red Econovan, Ford Econovan, so there's all of us, and we trundled off to Pleasant Point, and had no idea that, Pleasant Point was probably the whitest town in South Canterbury, and that we would be the only, other islanders there. It was the first time that a lot of people in, Pleasant Point had even seen a brown person.
We really drill into them that you'll be proud of who you are. The parish where we're going to, they're all palagis, and you will be stand out. And that is where they got really confident. In the 6 years, being in Pleasant Point really boosted their confidence.
We were very aware that they were different, that we were different. And in a sense, I was also, maybe somewhere in my psyche, was wanting to say, I want to impress this Palangi community that this family or these Samoan kids or these Pacific kids are good kids. And to stamp their mark by actually behaving well and looking good in the community. There were racial tensions that were kind of underlying a lot of things. Deep inside, I thought, how can we break through that? Because we wanted to carry on. But I used the boys to sing because we enjoy singing. And so that was one of the aspects that really broke through the hearts of this community. And through the medium of singing, they were actually embraced by the community.
Almighty God, isn't He? Isn't He? Isn't He?
Dad would go, and we knew what to do.
Most of the time when we were kind of filing up to the front, we didn't know what we were singing, and we'd just get the cue when we get there. We kind of look at Dad, and he's like, we're singing this one, and you're like, yeah, cool, and we'll just rock it.
Isn't He?
Moving up to Auckland after 6 years in Pleasant Point, It was hard on the boys because they can see Auckland on the news. They keep asking us, are we going? Is that where we're going?
The biggest significant change was this was the first time that my whiteness was kind of highlighted. Going from Pleasant Point High School to Kelston Boys High School. That's when we really noticed that we sound different, and guys at school would call us on it.
It's one of the first things I noticed when someone says to me, "Oh, where are you from? Like, you've got an accent." It started becoming a bit of a sticking point because a lot of other Samoans would say, "Oh, you're just trying to sound like an English person." It did kind of make me think, what am I meant to sound like? You know, what do Samoans sound like? Is there a certain way that Samoans speak?
It was a complete shock for them. We knew that, but we just had to persevere with that, particularly also the fact that we were coming into a Samoan world and our expectations of them actually raised another notch.
Down south with the palangis, they don't put so much onus on you to be super moral or anything. You just kind of stood out. And then coming up here, Samoans very cultural, very into their church, so they hold you to a definitely a higher moral standard.
So I had this idea in my head of what it was going to be like to sort of join the rest of my people, if you will. It was completely different to what I expected. So in that sense, it was a bit of a culture shock, really.
Being a pastor's kid to me means having a sort of a standard that you have to live up to. It's not something that, you know, is supposed to be switched off. You just got to be on that plane all the time. I think, if anything, that's why they always say, you know, the pastor's kids are the worst, because they were the first to rebel against those things. I reacted in the 90s when I decided I was going to be a blood. Half decided I was going to be a blood. I was going to dress like a blood, but I didn't really, in my heart of hearts, didn't want to be a blood. But Tupac wore his bandana backwards, so we went through this phase where we're like, we're going to wear red bandanas, we're going to wear them backwards, we're going to wear a red top.
Yeah, I don't remember Fasi being a blood, but I just remember there was a lot of rap music going on at that time, so I kind of put the two together here.
I don't remember them being bloods. I was just kind of like, they're just wearing red bandanas.
Could have been a closet blood.
I also wore my blood get up to church because then we all started wearing bandanas. Oh, that's probably why Mum was like, don't do things because other people will copy. Because, yeah, then all the youth was like, oh, yeah, sweet. So there was like 6 or 7 of us just rock around with bandanas tied backwards. It's like Tupac.
God help me, you know, with this kids. And they are ministers' kids, and the Samoan expect them to be like angels, and look at them.
That was a fun time until I got into an argument with my mum, and she wanted me to do the laundry before I go out, and I said I don't want to do the laundry. So you'll do the laundry before you go out. Okay, so I was there in the washing machine, separating the whites from the colours with my bandana on, and then I started doing my G-walk out the door. Mum was like, where are you going with this? And I said, away from you. And she went, oh. She's like, you're a hard man now, you're a hard man. And I was like, and I went to go, and then she did the whole like, sort of step into the line. And that's when they, I don't know what came over me, but decided that dropping the shoulder would be like a good thing to do.
So when I see him like acting out, doing all that stuff, I'm like, man, you're gonna have a really bad time because Mum's not gonna let that fly. You guys are gonna have words. It's gonna be like that.
Brush the shoulder this, and as soon as I went past, that's the last thing I remember. I do remember waking up on the ground, like looking up, like, what the hell just happened? And Ron was like, what were you thinking, man? It's like, what happened? Like this, because he could hear it. I think I ditched the bandana and stuff after that, because you can't look tough like that and have your mum just own you like that. As a minister's kid, the biggest thing I struggled with was the Christianity. The idea of the older I got, the more I couldn't believe in the things that I was raised to believe.
Right now, where I am in my life, I don't go to church. I feel like I find my spiritual sort of feeding or fuel just outside of church, just in life, really. I go looking for it outside of church and I seem to find it,
Today, I currently don't go to church. I stopped going to church regularly in my early 20s. Had to wean myself off it. It's like breaking up with, someone, like having to wean myself off church.
Just recently started going back to church and making it a staple part of my life. It was a bit of a kind of moment. I was saying to my dad, my last 10 years of my life, just been out there in the world doing things and then coming back, and now that I want to go back to church and I understand how powerful and valuable it is to my life.
I love the people, but I hated the institution. I don't, so like today I don't go to church.
So back when I was old enough to actually be allowed to make my own decisions about church, I decided it wasn't for me. But after some time, my girlfriend wondered where I'd get this self-confidence or this conviction and big ideas and big ambitions kind of thing. And I realised it came from my faith, it came from like believing in things that you can't see or that aren't guaranteed kind of thing. So we actually started going back to church so that she could see how I grew up kind of thing and the kind of things that I would hear 7 days a week.
When they left and didn't come back, I said, don't lose the faith. That's all I said. So the faith is important rather than the church, because it's the conditioning and all these things in the church that I know so well. It's actually the battle. If you don't enjoy church, then hey, find a church or find a place that actually brings that life, because it's all about, worship is about the life, not about the rules.
One thing I really admire about my dad as a minister, just his influence, really. I mean, it's a buzzy thing seeing a leader up on stage or the pulpit, and almost idolizing him. But as your dad as well, I really liked his leadership style. I really liked how he was influential over people in a good way, and that was always something I aspired to.
Being forced into the church mode and the church model, the biggest theme that comes out from the Bible is, the truth. You get told that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So I fell in love with the idea of searching for the truth. In a weird way, when I became an actor, that's what you also are looking for. My first year at drama school was like, man, this is just everything I've done in church, but just in a wider, context. Readings and Dad used to coach us in punctuation and reading. Essentially the Bible is a script that you can read, and if you want to make that a thing, you can. Use the words, emphasize this word, pause and breathe there.
Being my dad's pastor's kid, it's really given me, coloured my life. And when I think of leadership and vision and stuff, which is something that I think my dad had, so that's really helped influence my life.
I think I still have faith. I think I still believe that there's something. If I get lost, I'll probably tend to turn to the scriptures first.
Being a pastor's kid helped me become who I am today, and it's part of who I am today. And it really showed me how to set myself apart.
All the highs and lows and everything that I found negative about it also had lots of positive things attached to it, and it really has shaped the way that I am and the way that I see the world and what I feel I can offer to the world. So it's been awesome, it really has been a very unique experience. And I think a lot of pastors' kids, I think we have that kind of bond of like, hey, look at us, have we wrecked the world yet, or have we saved the world yet, or, so no, it's awesome and I wouldn't change it.